Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jake, this is Nadia, this is Buddy, this is Sedona, and Babu is downstairs right now.
He's sleeping.
Today we are talking about Renfield.
It was, can I go?
Please.
It was a good movie.
Okay, this is going to be interesting.
So I really like that it was a twist of Dracula. It was Dracula there, but it wasn't about Dracula. It was about like being his subordinate.
It's doing like a modern twist on the classic Renfield Dracula story where Renfield is his helper, but the movie's about Renfield, it's not about Dracula, you know.
Yeah, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. I really love how Renfield character is in a group therapy session with abusers and narcissists, and how he's very literal about what he goes through with Dracula. But they're like, it's weird that you phrase it like that. But yeah, you know.
Yeah, and that was the best parts of the movie were in the trailer.
I don't know if I 100% agree with that. But I will say that the person who played the cop, the main character, I forgot her name.
Awkwafina.
She was so good. She was in that Marvel film that I can't recall right now.
I know what you mean. Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yeah, exactly. She has ability to play funny, but also with a serious subtone.
Oh no, I thought she was horrible. I genuinely thought like that character and that performance was really bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not think so at all.
I thought
she was pretty good.
Okay. Sorry, I'll let you continue with your thoughts.
Which you clearly disagree with. This will be fun. I would rate this film 8 out of 10. Do you still love me?
Of course.
Sure. I thought the movie plotline was a little bit cliche and it was a little bit corny, which is probably why I rate it as high as I do, because I like corny, and probably why Jake is not going to rate it as high as me because he hates corny, which is interesting because he's married to me. So
I thought it was the most disappointing waste of a fantastic performance by Nicolas Cage. I'm glad the movie exists because we get this performance by Nick Cage, which I thought was fantastic. Every scene he was in was great. The problem was it's billed as a horror comedy, but it's really an action comedy. Mm-hmm. It's like you said, it was incredibly cheesy and cliched. So bad. Like I thought
it was just a really good time film that you can just enjoy and you don't have to think so seriously about, which is what I liked about it. Because lately we've been watching so many things, especially because you have me on Succession lately. I just need to escape the cruelty of this world, and this movie really like helped me do that. You know, the cliches of it, if it wasn't for the good performance of the main actors and actress, I thought would be like a really big flop. And you know, because the storyline itself is very typical and there's nothing really like particularly outstanding about it.
I disagree. I thought the premise, the idea of like Renfield trying to break away from Dracula, trying to be his own person, I thought that in itself could be interesting. And I think it could sustain a full movie, especially with Nick Cage's performance. But the problem was the movie was like embarrassed of itself and it kept adding these cliched comedy beats and plot lines in order to add to it, but all it did was take it away and took away what was special from it.
I agree with the main point about like it being a story about his apprentice. Like I addressed that, but that's not what I mean as like is cliche. I mean like the whole gang.
Yeah.
At the end, I'll get into spoilers, but the ending of the whole gang and how the story unfolds became really cliche. But I also found humor in it because it's ultimately a story about how to not be a codependent person relying on a narcissist. I thought it was interesting how they took like a topic that is a little bit more serious and can be really brutal topic and turn it into something funny by making it about Dracula's apprentice. What would you rate it?
I would give it like a 2 out of 10.
Holy shit! 8 out of 10, 2 out of 10?
My issue with it is, like, if you're going to be going in on Nick Cage's Dracula, you're doing a story about, like, trauma and PTSD and abusive relationships, but you spend most of the movie just doing, like, trying to be, like, an Edgar Wright ripoff, like, action comedy that has very little to do with the main story. And that part of it was done very sloppily, I thought. Then I felt watching it, even with the jokes, even with the absurd amounts of gore, which most of it was just CGI blood, which didn't even look good. This movie, it's not taking itself seriously. And I don't mean like I think Monty Python movies take themselves seriously in that they're being sincere in what they're trying to do and in their goals. This movie felt like they were making it in a very cynical attitude where the performances, everything about it just felt so hollow. It wasn't taking its premise seriously. It was just like a goofy Dracula movie. Instead of, we're making a movie and it happens to be about this. Like, it just felt so like we don't give a shit.
Obviously, I 100% disagree. I love that we don't give a shit. I don't want to give a shit, and that's why I watched the movie.
But it was asking us to give a shit because there were so many plot lines that was like, oh, the romance subplot, we have the gangster subplot, like these things that we're supposed to care about, but it was just so lazy. The stuff that was good that it seemed like maybe they did care about were like the grotesque stuff with like Nick Cage and being Dracula and this actual relationship, which was so little in the movie. Like the actual stuff in the trailer, like I really feel like it was false advertising because there's this whole gang subplot with like crime and all this action, these action sequences that have nothing to do with what we were sold in the movie. That basically the dynamics that you saw in the trailer between Dracula and Renfield, that's all there is to it. There's very little more. There's very little depth to it.
I mean, what do you want? Like, why would you want it all in the trailer? So that, like, I hate it. Like, I actually like that because I hate when you watch a film and you feel like you already know what it's about through the trailer. I like that there was a little subplot that wasn't there. And I also love...
It wasn't a little subplot. It was like half the movie.
Yes, I know. But I
think that's false advertising.
I don't think it took away from like the whole apprentice, master being Dracula that the trailer presented. We need to get into spoiler because... Ready?
All right. So you give it an 8 out of 10.
And you give it a 2 out of 10.
All right.
3,
2,
2, 1, go. Okay. I thought that the whole spider eating or just bug eating thing was gross as heck. I really enjoyed the action scene of how like they just kill off. It reminded me of Kill Bill. I really like Renfield's character. I thought he was so funny. I thought the scene where he eats the ants that he gives away to the kid and then the mom goes, "You're a bad person," kind of thing. I thought that was funny. I thought there was like really good lines in there that
no one in the movie had any grounding in reality. Like even the side characters, like there's a scene where Renfield and Awkwafina, they're in this club and he like rips people's arms off into this bloody gore and everything. It's like, if you're going to do that in a movie, great, own it. Like, I love gore and blood. I love this like over the top stuff. Like that's cool. But then at the end of the scene, they're doing like Marvel quips. Did you just rip that guy's arm off? Did I just see what I thought I saw? And then somebody who's in this club where dozens upon dozens of people were just brutally murdered, like picks up their head and goes, can I leave now? It's just like most...
Why do you always compare every action scene to Marvel?
Because and I'm not trying to compare everything to Marvel.
I feel like you are.
I'm not, because I feel like this is a very, maybe it's not a Marvel thing, but it's a very like not taking anything seriously, even though it's like it can be funny on its own, but you don't have to be commenting on the fact that it's funny. Like,
well, I like to comment on the fact that I'm funny when I'm funny, so I guess that's why I like it.
It's like something funny happens in the movie. Well, the characters have to be self-aware about how that's a funny thing in the movie. Always pulls me out, and it felt especially lazy in this one. And I never believed Awkwafina's character at all. They did like a super brief scene where she's in the hallway at the police station and she talks to her sister and they're like, man, our dad like died fighting the gangsters and now like we have to avenge him. And it was literally like the dialogue was that simple and it was just like the most cliched thing to try to like build a character. I'm like, what is the point?
If I was to focus just on Awkwafina's character, I would agree 110% in that her character background, the way she conveyed it was weak. However, I don't think it's because of the performance. I honestly think it's because of the writing, because they give her a little as possible to really just kind of like, her sister wasn't like a main plot, but she had to do something with the ending because, she is taken hostage, she's killed, she's used as a temptation device for her Awkwafina to be able to like go to the dark side and really like question her moral of like, does she actually want to be like her dad even if it costs her sister? That's the whole purpose of the background. other than that, I think it's like she is a cranky individual who is too unrealistic in the way that she handles things. For example, like the way she handles crimes and everything. I mean, she should be fired if it wasn't for her dad's connection within the police department. But I think if you want to talk about realism, I mean, I don't know. This is where I struggle with your criticism, because you're talking about realism in a movie that's about Dracula.
No. I don't mean like realism in that it has to be real. I just mean like the characters in the movie have to believe what's going on.
And you don't feel like they actually did?
No, like when the scene where Renfield like kidnaps Awkwafina and has her at his apartment or whatever, and he's like trying to explain what's going on, and he's like, I work for Dracula. And she's just like, okay. It feels like they're just hitting the beats that they need to hit for the script. And within the world of the story, like there's just like, it's like they're aware they're in a movie, but it's not like, it doesn't go far enough in like this irreverent direction.
You can tell the acting is on the surface.
Yeah,
there's
it's all
nothing
on the
really
surface. There's nothing.
I get what you're saying. I just think that it has to do more with writing.
Oh, yeah.
Than the performance itself.
No, I don't think they had anything to work with.
But I also feel like it didn't take away from the movie itself, because I don't think it's supposed to be let me dig deep type of film. However, I see your criticism of like it also takes you away from the characters themselves. Yeah. Because I mean, in all honesty, I forgot that we watched that film.
I mean, it is deeply.
But when I think about it, I'm like, oh, that was a good time.
I was intoxicated and I was struggling to enjoy it, you know? And
maybe that was the issue.
Well, I think they're advertising this movie as like Nick Cage is Dracula, like this will be cool to see. It really feels like he is a side character in the movie. He is kind of like a plot thing to keep things going. Like what's interesting is the relationship between him and Renfield, but there's only a couple really good scenes, and they are good because Nick Cage puts his whole energy into it and you feel it, and he's putting these like little comic flares, but he's playing Dracula as someone who is like, who could be real in this universe, you know, as someone it's something I could believe, and he's taking it seriously as someone who has been undead for so long and feels like a god. It was very relatable to me. I personally was like, I get that.
Well, the Dracula blood is supposed to heal things, and at the end they collect a lot of Dracula blood when they kill him, but the part that I really hated, that I'm like thinking about lowering my rating to 6, is when the son of the gang member, the woman gang member, he gets kidnapped. Not kidnapped, but he goes to Dracula to kill him, not knowing it was Dracula, and instead, like, he makes a deal with Dracula, like, hey, I'll be your apprentice. I hated how Dracula gave not only him, but everyone his powers. This is just not special anymore.
Okay, yeah.
You know, It kind of like took me out of it, where it wasn't like something special. But I thought it was funny how the mom gang, like the leader, falling in love with Dracula.
Yeah, that was good.
That was funny.
Good.
It would have been cool if it was like a one-on-one thing instead of the whole gang like being apprentice. I just thought like if you want to talk about storyline, that was hard to believe. Like this Dracula guy has been alive for hundreds of years. He just now wants to take over the world, make like 10, 20 apprentice. It's like...
Yeah, it's that part
going from a first date and ending the date by saying I love you, you know?
Yeah, but I mean the whole movie is just like insane plot conveniences. I am grateful that it was short, you know. It was a really tight 90 minutes, I think. But there's so much packed in with the like all the subplots that it felt like too much and not enough.
Yeah, and I guess Renfield's power at the end we discover is really his, when you resist Dracula, apparently you could be Dracula. Which is cool, I guess, but it also feels like a really easy way out. It's like he gave you power, but I wish there was something else, another way that he got more powers, maybe. Like maybe he drank his blood a little long and then he like realized that he can get even more power. Yeah. He can be as powerful as Dracula temporarily, something like that.
I just regret that this movie was made and they had, I think Nicholas Hoult, right? That's his name. He was good as Renfield. And of course, Nick Cage's Dracula. They could have done like a quirky, weird, offbeat movie about like Renfield trying to fit in modern life and trying to escape from Dracula. And I think it could have been something fun, you know, but this just felt so exhausted. Like some poor screenwriter was like, all right, I got to hit this beat in this like action comedy thing. And we have Dracula barely in the movie. Like it was so unsatisfying. I don't think I've seen anyone like, there are people who are like, yeah, it was a fine movie, but I don't see anyone loving it. Well, I guess you're the first one. I'm sorry, but
I mean, when I think about the ending, I don't love it. I like it. But when I think about the movie as a whole, I remember having a good time. It could be the popcorn.
you were high on the popcorn. I had a good time because I was with you.
Aww. All right. Well, that's what we think.
All right.
Let us know what you think and who you agree with. And otherwise, we'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.